Friedman's approach to CSR was very, very popular, but it also received criticism from scholars and practitioners. Carroll, our next reading, voiced his concerns and noted early on that organizations need to reconcile the economic and social orientation. Specifically, Carroll argued that the social orientation includes an obligation to act ethically and also, in addition, a voluntary philanthropic responsibility. Based on this idea, Carroll developed the Pyramid of CSR. This pyramid consists of 4 components. At the bottom of the pyramid is an organization's basic building block that states that the economic responsibility of an organization requires that it's not only profitable, but that an organization has to maximize its earnings per share, maintain a high level of operating efficiency, and strong competitive position. The economic responsibility builds the foundation upon which all others rests. So Carroll puts the legal responsibility as the next level too, and I quote here, portray their historical development, but they are appropriately seen as coexisting with economic responsibilities as a fundamental precepts of free enterprise system. As you can guess, the legal responsibility requires organizations to comply with various federal, provincial, and local laws and regulations, and to provide goods and services that at least meet the minimal legal requirements. Personally, I believe that the legal and economic responsibilities can no longer be separated. Unless, of course, you consider drug dealers, bank robbers, the mafia, and other criminal organizations. Even Milton Friedman said that organizations have to engage in open and free competition without deception and fraud. So organizations should not violate the law. He actually specifically mentioned that. You have to stay within the law. Especially in the long run, obeying the law is a requirement for being profitable and should not be separated. But let's move on to the ethical responsibility. In a perfect world, laws and regulation would already ensure that organizations act ethically. That's what laws and regulations are for. However, this world is all but perfect. So Carroll postulates that organizations have a separate ethical responsibility. Ethical responsibilities go beyond what is required by law and assess what stakeholders, such as consumers, employees, shareholders, and the community, regard as fair and just. What are the expectations of society with regards to ethical conduct? Ethical responsibilities are also important in an environment where social norms, values, and expectations are generally low or changing, and mere compliance would be regarded as unethical by society. Think back to the Ford Pinto case that we discussed. The crash test Ford performed was only recommended, but not required. So Ford fulfilled their economic and legal responsibilities when they decided to not install the part and release the Ford Pinto. However, they clearly violated the ethical responsibilities. They did not do what is right, what is ethical, or they did not try to avoid harm to their customers. Carroll also mentioned that even though ethical responsibilities are displayed on a separate level, on top of legal responsibilities, there is a constant interplay with an organization's legal responsibilities. So, finally, to fulfill their philanthropic responsibilities, organizations need to be good corporate citizens and contribute financial and human resources to the community in which they operate in and improve the quality of life for their stakeholders. For example, executives could be allowed to spend time providing leadership to community groups, or organizations could donate a certain percentage of their profits to a good cause, such as the fight against hunger, affordable housing, an art project, and so on. Carroll mentioned numerous worthy causes in his paper. While ethical responsibilities are expected by society, philanthropic responsibilities are desired and appreciated by the communities, but organizations who do not engage in them are not necessarily seen as unethical. Consequently, Carroll made a point that philanthropic responsibilities are more voluntary and at the discretion of an organization. Carroll also explained how immoral, amoral, and moral managers interact with shareholders, employees, customers, and the local community, and by doing so contribute to a more stakeholder-centered view. However, the pyramid approach makes it seem as if organizations need to first and foremost make profits. Again, they need to maximize their profits, and that ethical responsibilities should only be considered once an organization is profitable. This raises the question, what happens when ethical responsibilities conflict with profit maximization? For example, in the Ford Pinto case, the calculation clearly favored releasing the car to maximize profits. In addition, the company was in a crisis. Don't forget, cheap cars from Japan came into the North American markets. There was a survival threat. So, while Carroll's pyramid was a step in the right direction, it left plenty of room for improvement. How do you like Carroll's approach to CSR compared to Friedman's? Is either one of them still applicable?